Hey folks, Jer here at The View. I wasn't going to do this. I'm going to be very honest. I wasn't going to do this. First things first, just to get a couple of bits out of the way. No news video today, unfortunately. I had busy dates and family stuff popped up today and I had to kind of go and deal with that. So, and there's nobody at home right now. So I thought I'll jump on, I'll do this. I get this out of my system. So the sun is coming around the corner of my house and it's getting nice and bright. So yeah, actually that's not right, is it? Give me one sec. Thank you. Every time I do these live streams, the sun decides to poke its head around the corner. There's 101 people here. Thank you first for popping in. And sorry for walking away. If you like the channel, if you like the streams, blah 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 blah, like button, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to try and keep this as lighthearted as I can for as long as I can because I've watched the game a second time because I'm a sadist and I like to put myself through immense amount of disappointment and pain on a regular basis. And I'm not any less angry. But there is caveats to this, and there is I've tried to wait a day to somewhat calm to try and put a constructive conversation, and we'll go through all the goals as per usual that we do on these. I've got some top line notes. If I am looking down, then just look at my notes. I'll fly through chat. There's a lot of people in chat, and I do try and get through as much chat as I can. But I know if you're watching this back, and it's just me reading out chat, or in some cases half reading out chat. We'll just say hi. There was one, Michael Brown, Jer. You're one of the few Leeds content creators that haven't laid into the team. It's not guaranteed today, unfortunately. I think we've got to be realistic. Not sure how we can't lay into them. Yep. Haven't got there yet, but we'll get there. Even Kellyanne, Jerry, you find it hard to be positive about yesterday's performance. 11 goals conceded in 2 games, many of which were mistakes, all of which were mistakes. Look, it's a general theme. Hello to everybody is the top line message here. I want to kind of start this off by just making a point, making a statement, I suppose. I'm not blaming the manager. I'm just not. And I'll tell you why. The common denominator, and I love this, I like to work off if something's consistently going wrong, what's the one thing that's the same? In our case, there's 2. There's bad recruitment from people who are running a club that aren't great at running the club currently. And the second side of it is that the back 4 or 5, if you include our goalkeeper, has pretty much stayed the same through these drubbings. Now, I say stay the same. I'm not including Max Vober in this because as of yet, he hasn't been on the pitch when we've gotten a drubbing. Not last year, not the year before. You take the 3 seasons, we're back in the Premier League. We've had these games where we've conceded huge amounts of goals, usually away from home. It's really annoying and disappointing that it happens in our own backyard as well. But if you look at that, under Bielsa, Melier was the goalkeeper, Ayling was the right full, Robin Koch was there, Pascal Stroke was there, and Junior Firpo was there. If you look at Jesse Marsh, they were all there as well. You can add Liam Cooper into that, but then Cooper hasn't been on the pitch. So again, he's not culpable in this mistake at the moment. These are not systematic errors. These are individual people making individual errors. Or let's call a spade here. And this is not necessarily a fault of the players. They're not at this level, some of them. Ilya Median gets an awful lot of criticism. I will be critical of him here as well. I think of the last 14 shots, last 11 shots he's faced has been 11 goals without a save. What I will say to that is, and we'll go through the goals in detail, he gets zero protection at all. Ollie Ward in the chat. Ollie, good evening. Ollie, if you fancy jumping on, send me a DM quick on Twitter and I'll rope you into this. Don't let me do this on my own, Ollie. It's for me, it's system stuff. It's individual, not system stuff. It's individual errors from individual people who are probably not at this level, and they've been consistently making the same mistakes for years. And we haven't strengthened the back line. We haven't upgraded the players. Pascal Stroke may end up being a decent centre back, but right now he's not great. Robin Koch looks like a very good centre back playing beside Max Vober. When he's on his own or anybody else, he looks shaky. Luke Ayling had a couple of bad games, but then Rasmus Christensen, everyone's screaming for Christensen to come in. Everyone's screaming for Georgina Rutter to come in. We've shown why they're not in the team because they're not ready. They're not at the level. Christensen, a poor enough game. Firpo, again, looks really good with Max Vober standing beside him. Without him, there was the goal against Palace last week, the header that AU beat Ayling to. And somebody put a nice video package on Twitter about it. And if you look at it, Junior Firpo goes wandering off when the ball gets played into the channel where he should have been for the cross to come in. So before you even blame it, Ayling or Meslier, Junior Firpo is not where he should be. I've had screenshots sent to me over the last 5 or 6 weeks when Leeds were getting results from people who stay quiet on Twitter and screenshot my posts to throw them back in my face when Jack Harrison has a decent game or Junior Firpo has one good game or we get a result. They're very quiet right now. I haven't had any screenshots sent to me the last 2 weeks from anybody to tell me that I'm wrong about Jack Harrison and that I should shut my mouth. So I have criticized people and I have praised them in equal measure. And I will continue to do that because I'm trying to be balanced and I try and be balanced. However, sometimes when it's looking you straight in the eye, you can't just make excuses. We all want and we all wish Leeds United to be a good team. We all wish and want Leeds United players to be very good players. The reality, unfortunately, is when you look at the facts in the last 2 seasons, and we haven't been. These defenders have let Marcelo Bielsa down. The club let Marcelo Bielsa down. These players have let Jesse Marsch down. Jesse Marsch let himself down, probably a bit as well. And then they're letting Javi down as well. And they let Skubala down in the second game against Manchester United as well. So they've done this. And they have this in their locker. I listened to Square Ball today, and Michael Normanson made some fantastic points about where Leeds are as an entity and the players that are in the team. And we should go through it. Like, when we look at Meslier as a goalkeeper, I think he's going to be a very, very good goalkeeper. But the club has gambled Premier League survival and Premier League safety on essentially as a kid. He's 22 years of age. He's going to make mistakes, and you have to expect that from young players. That's not excusing the mistakes. The point is the club was invested in that, and the club has decided to do that. Luke Ayling, great servant to Leeds, great leader for Leeds. I love Luke. I love him to bits. I think he's one of my favourite players in the last decade at Leeds. Has gone through a couple of bad games. People wanted him out. Before we start bringing Cody Drama, Leo Helda, and Charlie Cresswell up, please don't, because they're in the championship for a reason for right now. They're not where we need to be right now. When we get bad results, this panic kicks in about who can we replace these players with? Bring the kids in, give them a chance, give nobody a chance. Nobody deserves a chance. You earn it. Bielsa didn't like Drama, put him out on loan. Marsch put him out on loan. That's 2 of them. If we think Bielsa was the best manager we ever had, then we've got to believe the facts that when Bielsa said a player wasn't ready for this level after getting absolutely destroyed by Martinelli, and then under Jesse Marsch having the exact same thing happen to him against Brentford. He's out on loan for a reason. These players are due to come back hopefully next season, the year after, and be players for Leeds in the future, but they're not the players for now, and this is the problem with Leeds United. Illan Meslier isn't the goalkeeper for now. He's the goalkeeper for 3 years' time. Jorginho Ruta isn't the striker for now. He's a striker for 3 or 4 years' time. Joe Gelhardt isn't the striker for now. He's a striker for 2 or 3 years' time. Charlie Cresswell isn't the centre half for now. He's a centre half for 2 or 3 years' time. Matteo Joseph isn't a striker for now. He's a striker for 2 or 3 years' time. All of these young players are not for now. And the problem Leeds have right now is we've got a mixture of young players who are out of their depth a little bit and a mixture of experienced players who, let's be honest about it, have got nice chunky relegation release clauses in their deals and appear to have given up. I'm not saying they have for a fact. I'm saying they appear to have done it. So it's go on then. Give me 1 second here, and let's invite Mr. Ward in here for a sec. Give me 2 seconds, and we'll have our first co-stream with Ollie Ward, which we've wanted to do for a while. So let's bring him in. Here you go, Ollie. Links in the chat, mate. In your Twitter chat. The main thing I wanted to kind of we'll fly to the top line before I bring Ollie in. As I said, these are bad defending. When Leeds have to turn around and run towards their own goal and face their own goal defensively, we're poor. In nearly every single goal, what stood out to me is not necessarily the individual mistake that McKennie stepping on the ball or Firpo kicking the ball against Alexander's arm. And the handball, it's 50-50 for me. The hand's in a position, the ball gets kicked at him from a yard. He kind of does that. To me, it's not moving the hand to the ball. It's trying to get his hand out of the way of the ball. And they said it was too far back to impact the goal, which is not true. But it wasn't given. And it's not the reason we lost by 6 goals. Let's be honest about it. It's not. Defenders dropping. Every time Liverpool player got the ball in the middle of the park, Leeds players dropped away from them. Liverpool are a team that thrive on space, and we gave them space to run at us. And not only did we get them running at us, we got them running at us, but we were turned around looking over our shoulder, running back towards our own goal. That's a massive problem. You can't defend like that. You can't defend appropriately like that. It's a problem. That happened enough. I don't know why we don't hold the line and play an offside from time to time. We just keep dropping. Just stay inside the halfway line. We're very flat as well as a back four. The 6th goal, the tap in that Jota gets is that dinked ball over the top. Not Jota, sorry. Nunez goal is dinked over in a very flat back four. It's a bad shape. Lack of effort from some people. That's twice in 2 games. Palace second half. And this game, that's a trend. That's a worrying trend. I don't want to believe anything happened in the dressing room at Palace, but something's gone wrong. Something's happened. Something's big has happened. I think there's a lack of character through some of them. I'm sick of looking at Weston McKennie's entourage on Twitter, giving Leeds abuse and giving Leeds fans stick. These are people who I would describe as parasites who are just latched onto Weston McKennie for money and for his fame. These aren't real football fans. I'm getting tired of listening to that as well. Lack of character. 2 games in a row where we've just buckled like a house of cards. And as I said already, one of the biggest issues I have now is there's relegation release clauses gone into some of these new contracts that have been negotiated with players that came in the season. The issue we have is we didn't upgrade the players we have last season who were in a dogfight, and maybe you just haven't got the energy anymore for a second one. And at the same time, we've then got these other players that have come in who maybe just weren't expecting to be in this position and just aren't capable of fighting way out of a dogfight. The recruitment is a big issue, huge issue. Lots of projects, a lot of players for the future, and not an awful lot for right now. So yeah, Southampton bought a young side and we bought a young side. Look where both teams are. I don't know how we're not in the bottom 3 right now. It's crazy. There's too many weak characters. How many managers are we going to go through, and how many managers are we going to blame for issues that are caused by the same group of players? And they are that backline. Ollie is here. Let's throw Ollie in. Hi, Ollie.
Hello.
What are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I've been just listening to you, and I agree with everything you've said. Yeah,
it's amazing when you do it in a calm voice, how it makes you feel like you're making valid points. I could be screaming this. I want to scream this. I'm really annoyed. Ollie, I've watched all the goals a couple of times, and the thing that strikes me is this: as soon as a Liverpool player gets the ball or we'll use the ball, the back 4 just drop 15, 20 yards.
Yeah.
And give the likes of Mo Salah, Jota, Nunez space to just run into, which they thrive on. That's where they've thrived for years, is running at you in space when you're running with your back towards them and running facing your own goal. And I think it's just bad defenders who are panicking. And I think the common denominator over the last 3 seasons has been the same defenders: Ayling, Koch, Cooper, Stroke, Firpo. Where's your head at with that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think actually, I don't know if did you see the Carragher clip, him talking about the
Can't stand Jamie Carragher. I find him sensationalist. He annoys me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? And 9 times out of 10, I probably agree with you, but I think he made a very good point about our back line. It's been the same back line. We've been in this situation, last season. It's the same defenders. It's the same problems. I just don't, I completely agree with you. I just don't think they're good enough defenders anymore. I really don't. The likes of Robin Koch, I just don't rate him. I really don't rate him. And I said that at the start of the season, just because I feel like when it was him and Coops lining up together, Coops was the scapegoat. I'm not saying Coops would help this back line necessarily right now. I think a leader would help, and he probably is our best leader we have.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pascal and Robin Koch last night, it was awful. It was awful. And Rasmus, everyone's saying get him in because of Ayling. I thought it was maybe right to drop Ayling. He did make a lot of mistakes, but was Rasmus the answer? I mean, I don't know.
The issue is, and this is where I'm tired of talking about Cody drama. I really am. I really am. I mean, my take on it is simple. Bielsa loaned him out. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
That's enough. If Bielsa got everything right at Leeds, then he was right there. And the same with Marsh has loaned him out as well. And I think he's probably the right back for a couple of years' time. I think he thinks he's the right back for now. But every time he's played in the Leeds shirt, he's been roasted by somebody. I have a comment just on screen there. And Gaz, you're a regular contributor to my channel and lots of our channels. And I just want to make a point on this. Every time we blame a manager, we give the defenders and the people that are letting this club down an excuse to get out of jail free. Bielsa wasn't the problem. Marsh, to a lesser degree, probably wasn't the biggest problem. He was a problem, not the biggest problem. Scoobs wasn't the problem, and neither is Javi. They're not the problem. Experienced coach at a big club, these aren't big players. None of the players we have in that team. Weston McKennie's not a big player. He doesn't have a big game attitude, big player attitude. He's a swagger of a guy that has lots of money. It's not a big attitude for me. He's just poor player at times. He's very good at sometimes, and then sometimes he's poor. There's no consistency from him or Rocket. So I just think every time we look to blame a manager, we take our eye off what the real problem is here and what the same problem will be here next year when another manager comes in. And that's, we're not replacing players with better players. We're letting people go when we don't have replacements in for them. We're selling midfielders. We don't have enough midfield depth as it is. We've let, I keep going back to Alioski. We brought Firpo in and sold Alioski. We didn't have a second left back.
No.
Why would you sell Alioski? I'm not saying he's better than Firpo, but it's another option. It's a secondary option, and we keep letting them go. So I would just be careful about digging the manager out every single time there's a problem. It's an easy one to do, but I don't think it's the problem.
No, I completely agree. I think, if you're looking at the list of things going wrong, I think Javi's really down there. I think you got to look. I'm not this massive person. I know it starts up with the board, and I do like to say, the board haven't done enough. I understand that, but they weren't the 11 players out on the pitch last night for me. They weren't the players who weren't showing effort. They weren't, I saw a couple of tweets say this, and I kind of agree. I have calmed down, but I've still got that bit of me that's a bit, this team is quite unlikable now. How much people used to love watching Leeds, and I was thinking,
Everyone's
is Alioski? Yeah. Well, exactly. People are saying, is Alioski better than Firpo? No, but he showed a bit. He was a nice cat. He was a character, and it showed that we needed a bit of. I don't know that there's no characters, and if they are, I see 11 individuals out there, especially last night. 11 individuals playing for themselves and can't back this relegation scrap. I really don't. I was more confident. I don't know if I was more confident last year. I don't really know. I think the likes of Rafinha. Yeah, well, Rafinha and Calvin and things were. I know Calvin didn't have the best of seasons last season. We're talking with bringing back the past and things, and I don't like to do that, but it's hard to focus on the future with this team. It really is. And like I said, last night I saw 11 individuals not running for each other.
Yeah.
And it's not just one player, it's all of them. And I'm just disappointed, if anything. I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed, as your mother would say.
It hurts more, doesn't it? It always hurts more. I'm not angry. Oh no, please be angry. Just be angry with me. It's over. There's a good comment here. There's a comment here that I have to address because I keep getting asked to do this. Get KG on. I don't know KG. I've never done a stream with KG, and
I haven't either.
Our paths haven't crossed. So until that happens, same with Connor stuff. I get asked, do something with Connor. Like I don't know Connor. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really as close with them two, but yeah, no, I'd love to speak to them about it. I think everyone's similarly, in the same boat right now. We probably all have similar opinions, some more positive than others, some are louder than others. I mean, last night I think I had my first ever meltdown, and it wasn't great, but yeah,
I was training my football team, so I didn't have to watch it, and I watched it when I got back, and I was having already known the result. Thought, well, at least it won't bother me. I thought we'd get spanked. I genuinely thought we'd get spanked. But when I watched it, it's a different level. It's not just a 6-1.
Yeah.
The manner of the 6-1. Really quickly, just on this little comment. Sorry, Jolly, my fault. On this comment here, Joe's not toxic. Joe's passionate. Joe gives a crap about Leeds, and he invests an awful lot of time in Leeds, as do everyone that makes content about Leeds. And he's entitled to voice his thing. Joe has his way of doing it. When things are going away, there's no more passionate fan than Joe. So,
no, agreed.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, yeah. I was saying last night, when I was watching the game, and you said you've watched the game back a couple of times now, and the goals back, I said that Liverpool probably had harder training sessions this week.
Oh yeah,
they didn't take it out of gear 1 or 2. They were passing it around. I thought for the opening half an hour, I was kind of like, all right, I kind of like that we're kind of dictating the tempo. They're trying to play that last final third pass. It wasn't working, and it was kind of working in our favor a bit. But once they get a couple of goals, it just looks like, oh, actually, no, we're just bad. We're actually just bad, and they're just they're dictating the tempo. Yeah. It looks a bit like we were stopping them, but I think we just didn't have the quality there. And it was a real rough one to watch. And last week Bamford called the Palace game a freak result. I don't know what he's calling this one.
Hopefully nothing. Hopefully nobody asks him anymore. I don't want to hear from him anymore either. As Diego Montero were to go, if he was, he'd be in the team. Not being dismissive, John, but we get to this point, and it's so bad. How do we fix this? We know we know what we've used isn't working, so let's use what's not working. As the Square Ball rightly pointed out this morning, the under 21 side are doing their very level best to chuck away their lead at the top of their division as well, throwing away a goal lead last night as well. I
saw that.
It's not so. You can't put the kids into this. The reason we're struggling right now is bad experienced players and too many kids.
Yeah, no, 100%. That the front three yesterday to end the game was Nonto, Somerville, and Jorginho Rutter, who's like, they're fantastic players, but not when you're 5-6-1 down. These are players and that's where I kind of understand this board, Sakada board. I kind of understand that because they shouldn't be the players, they shouldn't be the scapegoats. They shouldn't be the players that we bring on to try and save
No.
us. They should be given 5-10 minutes when you're 3-0 up to get them going,
Yeah.
not players we have to rely on. And there's too many, we don't have that much quality. We don't have that much experienced quality. We don't have leaders. I mean, Coops, Ayling, you can say are leaders, but probably in all fairness do lack that quality as well, though. So it's I don't know.
It's tough. And there's a nice point here, Steve. I'm not a coach, but wondering why double pivot leaves us so exposed. It shouldn't. There should always be one defender, one defensive midfielder. They're playing with two CDMs. One plays slightly higher than the other, and they move. It's called they call it a sliding door. So if that's your one and your two, they go like that. One presses forward, one drops backwards. One is always sitting between the lines. Problem is they're not doing it right now. They did it really well against Forest, and they haven't done it really well against Wolves. Sorry. And they haven't done it well against Palace.
That's a real coach speaking there. That's a real coach.
But it's don't evacuate the middle. I say to my lads, if the ball is out wide, one of our centre halves should always be covering the centre of the goal. If one goes, 6 drops in, midfielder drops in and covers the gap, and you've got a back 4. If it's in midfield and one goes, one covers the middle, steps across. So if anything comes direct, he can slip in like a sweeper behind the midfield.
Yeah.
The problem is they're both just all over the place, and it's not just them. It's again, I go back to, if you go through the goals, first goal is an awful first touch by Junior Firpo.
I mean, it should. I mean, it's one of them where maybe it shouldn't have counted, but the touch in the first place is absolutely diabolical. Like I really didn't know, it was inexcusable, the touch. Maybe it shouldn't have counted, but I wasn't too fussed. I was kind of like they still probably would have put 4 or 5 past us.
I don't think it's the reason we lost by 6. I mean, same reason that when Palace equalised against us last week before half time, that wasn't the reason why we lost 5-1. We just buckled.
Yeah.
But what I've done is I've wrote down all the goals because I'm an idiot and I wanted to have accountability for more than just the last person, because it'll be Mellier's crap. Why is Mellier the goalkeeper? Right. I don't want it to be that. So if you go through it, Gakpo's goal, bad touch by Firpo, mistake number 1, right? Salah gets the ball then and Stroke drops away from him. Just nope. And drops off him completely, right? And gives Salah all the room to run into. He gets 2v1 he gets a 2v1 with Trent. He squares the ball and Rasmus is ball watching. And then it's a tap in. And you could argue that Robin Koch is in the middle of no man's land as well. But there's how many players there have made a mistake? If one of those does their job correctly, it never gets to the back of the net. You look at the second goal then. McKennie loses the ball in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
It was in the attacking half of the pitch. They shouldn't go from there to goal.
No.
But what happens is the entire back 4 turned, faced their own goal, and sprinted backwards. So they're all running like this, and you've got a Mo Salah running at you, and he's like, I'll have this all day. I'll have this all day. Stroke, sorry, it wasn't Salah. It was, I don't know who broke with the ball. Salah is marked by Stroke as he comes across, and then twice Stroke stops to kind of check his run, and Salah each time gets a little bit further away from because he checks his run. Then he comes into it, and then it's just power that beats Mellier. It's at his near post, and Mellier should do better because it's at his near post. Third goal, Jota hasn't scored in a year. Of course, he was going to score against us. Stroke goes to win the ball in the middle of the park on the left-hand side and misses the ball completely. But again, that's not the reason we concede. Again, Robin Koch turns and the backline turn and run away from the ball instead of going and pressing the ball, which under Bielsa, you would have seen a swarm around that ball like Liverpool did in the last minute. Doesn't happen. Rasmus is marking again and again. Mellier hesitates coming out, and it's another goal. Fourth goal, Leeds are in possession, playing the ball down the right-hand side. There's a 1-2 between Jackie and Rasmus, except Jackie flicks it, and Rasmus doesn't go for the return pass. They break down the wing. McKennie gets stuck between 2 players and doesn't really do a whole lot of anything. Robertson leaves Robin Koch for dead in the space that Rasmus has left by going forward. Stroke gets out to Gakpo and does fine in this situation. But for some bizarre reason, Firpo decides to run across and leave Salah completely free.
Salah at the back post,
It's a 5-yard pass. It's 5 yards away. Didn't need to be there. And it's an easy goal. Fifth goal, edge of the box. Jack's not marking. McKennie's not marking. Jota, in my opinion, mishits that shot because he doesn't look like he catches the clean at all. Hits off the post and goes in. And
that one.
Jack does this then. Who's marking him? You. You're marking him. And the fact that you didn't mark him is why he scored. That's the fifth one. Sixth one, Rutter loses the ball. Rutter is close to Trent and decides to not bother tackling them. Just trots across. A long ball over top in the back 4 are completely flat like that. May as well have one player. Ball goes over, Stroud puts his hand up for offside, and it's a tap in. That's the second tap in that penalty area in front of the South Stand in 2 games. Dead center of the goal, tap in. Shouldn't be happening. And it's every single one of those goals is littered with mistakes. But the mistakes, the name beside all of those mistakes are the same names for every single goal.
I mean, I don't know if that's actually made me feel better that you've explained it. I think that's actually made me more frustrated that how many individual errors in the sequences leading up to the goal leads to the goal. And, you know, when you were explaining some of them, I can't even remember some of the goals because we concede in so many. I don't know which goals are which. And that is when you've got a problem at the football club, when you've conceded 11 goals in 8 days.
I had to write them down to remember them, Ollie.
As it's an absolute joke, and as a fan base, we don't deserve this. We really don't. I said yesterday, you know, we're, you know, the best, if not one of the best fan bases in the Premier League, and we're not seeing the performances. You know, was it, which game was it? Was it Forest? You know, when McKennie made that slide tackle? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, we all got very excited for a minute.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people want. We want a bit of passion, and we want, you know, that's simple, isn't it? A slide tackle that gets the crowd going. And when it went to 2-1 last night, I think Jack Harrison got stuck in, didn't he? And the crowd were like, come on. And that's all we ask for. A bit of passion. Yeah. A bit of passion, ball winning, showing heart, showing character. And this team doesn't seem to have the bottle for it. It doesn't seem to have the characters, doesn't seem to have that family feel like we did under Marcelo Bielsa, unfortunately.
I swore I'd never say this. I'm the same as you. I don't believe in going back, but the smartest move anybody could do if you're the 49ers coming in here in the summer and cleaning house is 1, clean house, 2, give Bielsa the job, and 2, back him with the players he needs to actually do the job. That won't happen, obviously, and probably shouldn't happen for lots of reasons. But if you look at a couple of bits and you listen to it, I'm trying to piece together all of the different interviews that I've heard from the chairman and the director of football and all of them over the last 12 months. And from the Athletics interview with Ornstein at the start of the year to the stuff that Radrizzani did with the Italian press earlier on this on the Zone. And there was a couple of bits and pieces that popped up. There was this piece around, they used to always say that Bielsa didn't want players. You know, they'd go to him with players and he wouldn't want them. The players were Dele Alli and Harry Winks. That they've aged well. Those two have particularly aged well since last year. True. And then the narrative kind of changed a little bit. And the story was then that, you know, Ornstein, it was the conversation was, well, Bielsa always said himself, this will work for 3-4 years. And then you've got a choice. You either replace the manager or you replace the squad with better players who can push this and do it at a better level. Yeah. They took that as replace the manager. They're like, no, replace the players. They need better quality players. They didn't do that. And then the recent conversations, the recent interview where that Bielsa went to them at Christmas last year and asked for certain players, gave them a list of players, and they said no because they no longer believed in what he was trying to do. So they made that decision not to back him in that January window when we needed a midfielder and we didn't bring one in. Yeah. They made that decision. So when you look at all that and you go, have they given the right managers the right players? You've got players that have been brought in now to play Jesse Marsh's, you know, rock and roll football. Jesse's not there anymore, and we can't afford to play that kind of football because we're in trouble. And now you've got a manager who's trying to put some sort of conservative system in place to try and manage the chaos that's gone on there and try and get us over the line till the end of the season. I don't blame him. I feel so sorry for Javi for what he walked into and what's happened over the last couple of weeks. But it's the same thing across all of them. The players that are there don't work. They don't fit the style. I've heard so many people say it's an unbalanced squad that's been put together, and it really is. You know, Jorginho Ruta shouldn't be on the pitch. And that's not a criticism of him. He's a young player learning his trade, coming from a division where, you know, Hoffenheim in Germany, not a big team. It's going to take him some time. He didn't score a lot of goals in Germany either, but there's potential there. And you know, this guy's going to be a star in the future. He's your sub. He's the guy coming off. We never replaced Pat Bamford, and we should have. And we still should. We should. If Pat Bamford is still leading the line next season, we've got a massive problem. For me, the issue has been bad recruitment by people who are either trying to build projects, fix careers of people that were supposed to be good and then ended up not being great, and then trying to revitalize. Well, somebody saw something in Barcelona about Firpo. Surely he must have been a good player. You know, we can get that out of him. No, we can't. We can't. And that goes across the whole lot of McKennie. I don't think Weston McKennie's interested in being in Leeds. I really don't. I don't think he's any interest in being here at the end of the season. I've heard rumours that he's agreed to a new contract. if we stay up, but he has that, if Leeds go down, I don't have to stay here. You've got probably Adams and Aronson. I don't know the details of their contracts. Be shocked if there isn't a relegation release clause in their contracts as well. Robin Koch is trying to negotiate a contract with a relegation. He can just go now for me. Like, if you want to go. Jack Harrison has a release clause in his contract. Go. Just leave.
Yeah. And I've said this, and it's quite an old-fashioned thing to say, I think, but all these players that have this thing where if we go down, they're too good to play in the Championship. You're clearly not, because you're clearly not good enough to play in the Premier League. If you've just got your side relegated, if you're not good enough to be in the Premier League, and you've seen Leeds United get relegated, what gives you the rights to then turn around and say, I'm not now, I'm too good for the Championship? I just don't understand. I'm
gonna go to Spurs or Newcastle and Robin Cox. Best of luck getting into those teams in your current form. This just as real comment, Philip. I'm only reading this out, Philip, because you're shouting at me. Board recruit players, manager, no quality in playing staff, a manager that doesn't trust Nanto, Rutter, and Rodrigo. We persist with Bamford 4 goals all season, broken promises, but walk away with the money. There's a couple of bits. You're not wrong on a lot of this, but there's a couple of bits just to clarify. Willie Nanto is still coming back from an ankle injury, and his minutes are being managed correctly, in my opinion. Jorginho Rutter shouldn't be anywhere near the squad. Not a criticism. He's a developmental player. He should be in the 21s. He's probably at the same level as Mateo Joseph. And in fact, while I have seen Mateo Joseph in the first team, he's probably more of an instinctive shooter or striker of the ball than any of our strikers right now. It's not that he doesn't trust him. He's trying to build a system. And Willie Nanto's been shaking his head, getting taken off. There's a whole lot of stuff in Barcelona right now about them fans complaining about Rafinha's reactions to getting taken off. And Nanto does the same, not to the same extent, but he's shaking his head and he's complaining and he's kicking players off the ball and he's trying to get sent off. And that kind of stuff is probably half the reason why the manager's saying maybe you're not the right player for these kind of games. We've got some massive games coming up in a week. We've got the 3 biggest games of our entire season, I think, are the next 3.
Yeah.
I need you for them. I need you 100% going to them, not going in with a niggle. So that's why I think Nyanto's not in the team. Look, I would have played Cooper last night as well, but Cooper has a mistake in him as well. But is he better than Stroke at left centre back? Yeah, probably is still. And that's a shocking indictment of where Leeds are a club. Down in 2023, we've got Pat Bamford, Luke Ayling, and Liam Cooper still considered first team players in the Premier League. And that's, again, not a criticism of them. It's age, injuries, and 3 years playing under Marcelo Bielsa's training styles that has clearly taken its toll on a lot of players' bodies. If you look at Tyler Roberts, Adam Forshaw, Pat Bamford, the injuries have caught up with them. They haven't been able to recover from them. There's a reason for that. So, but the fact that they're still the players that we're looking to bring in, and still the players that we're looking to lean on, is a problem in itself. I'm not a criticism of Cooper. I think Cooper is right now probably one of the players we need to have in the team, but we don't know how fit Cooper is as well. He made a comment a couple of weeks ago about how he knew his starting every game days were probably over, and he was looking at transitioning to the next point of his career, which was coaching, and he's 31 years of age and he's looking at that. So I wonder if does he know that his body's probably not up to it anymore, and he's getting more and more niggled and the injury's taking longer to get over, so the fact that they're still there and that the backup options are players like that we're looking to go to the bench and go, but we need to freshen this up. It's two 19-year-olds, a 31-year-old with injury prone, and a 31-year-old striker who's injury prone. That's it. That's your fix, and that's a problem. If you're not striking, playing well, that's what you've got off the bench. That's a problem.
Yeah, I think someone has just put it in the chat there, but we're far too loyal. Far too loyal to the promotion squad, far too loyal to the player. I saw something that, we're discussing. Obviously, you just said as well, Robin Koch contract. And it's like, is that improvement? I don't know if that's improvement. He's been in the Premier League for 3 seasons now. Obviously, we finished 9th first time. That was a I don't really know what that season was. It was good for us, happy days. But the last 2 seasons, these players are not good enough. These defenders now, I always thought we're the easiest team to beat in the league. We have the worst defense in the league. It's now proven. We have, it's a fact now. We've conceded more goals than Southampton, who are foot of the table, who, are something like 94% down, or like when people have been saying their statistics of if they think they're going to go down or not. And it just shows, I still do think a team like Southampton or a team like Forest or Leicester could go to Liverpool and get points, and they have. And I just don't see it with us. I really don't see it with us. I think we're the easiest team to play in the league. And, we got to that stage under Marcelo Bielsa where everyone's like, oh, we know how they play now. We'll just play like this. Yeah. And I wouldn't even necessarily say that's all now Marcelo Bielsa's fault. I just think it's these players, I don't like to blame them all on defenders, but I was clearly not scoring enough goals.
No.
But yeah, I just think it's the lack of quality for me, mate, and also the lack of leaders that I think we've been missing since, you know, the Pablos, the Alioskis. You can even look back at Berardi, even back in the day of Pontus Jansson, you know, things like that. You're looking at we just don't have them players anymore. I just don't believe, even Calvin to some aspect.
Yeah, 100% correct. Leaders in the pitch, you know, leaders in the dressing room, and look, Coops and Ayling are still in the dressing room and doing that. They can't fix them. Same as the manager. If you have a capitulation the way we had in the last 2 games, to that extent, to concede 4 goals in the second half of 2 games at home, there's very little from a sideline that you can do to influence that once the heads are gone. And they seem to be gone on a regular rate. And the problem is, like, who do you realistically replace Rocket and McKennie with next week against Fulham and still hope to get a win in that game? Because bringing Darko JB in there or bringing Sam Greenwood in there that's not going to fix it. It's not. It's just not. You know, there isn't anybody to fix it, you know. No. And the loyalty piece that you said is right as well. I'm pretty loyal to that team as well. I keep saying I'd like to see them up those positions upgraded. That doesn't mean I want to see us sell Ayling and Cooper. They still have a part to play in a squad. They still have a part to play in a dressing room. But you know, you got to upgrade your team a little bit at times, and we haven't done it. Michael made a really good point there as well, left up the screen. Funny thing is, a good game on Saturday could flip the mood. This is where my concern is. And you can tell me what you think about this.
Go for it.
I never thought we'd get anything from Liverpool. I didn't. And it was on Joe's show last week, and there was just raised eyebrows, and I said, no, we don't get anything from this game. But I was never worried about it. It wasn't the game-defining season. It was going to be get it out of the way. The next 3 are important. Bournemouth, Fulham, they're huge. Fulham, Bournemouth, and Leicester, massive games. If we can come out there with 9 points, then we're safe. Job done. Problem I have is now, seeing how badly we've collapsed in both games, the morale and the confidence must be in the absolute toilet, because our goal difference has gone from being one of the best in the lowest half of the divisions to now being level with nearly everybody else down there. -20, I think we're on now.
Yeah, we are.
We're just throwing it away. That's a point that we're just gone. Don't need that. So can they lift themselves to go into a game against Fulham? They've already beaten us down there. So they have, and we're not great traveling to London. Never have been great traveling to London.
No.
So we've got to deal with that as well. You know, I'm waiting for somebody to say, you know, oh, Davy Byrne playing centre mid, his first ever game, never scored a goal in his entire career.
Yeah.
Hat-trick. Yeah. There's got to be something before the game where the curse kicks in. And I'm joking with it, but I'm kind of not as well at the same time. It's going to happen. Please just don't tell us that somebody hasn't scored a goal in a while.
Yeah.
We got to go down there and get a result. And I don't know if they have. I don't know if this team has the capability. And I think there needs to be serious changes made for the next game. And I don't think everybody would be happy with them. I would agree that at this stage, I'd be taking Meslier out just for himself. At this point, he is facing so many shots, so many one-on-one situations. I would take him out of it and go with experience now and stick Robles in for the last couple of games, because he is an experienced keeper. He has played at top level. He knows the division. He knows the people. You know, he's a big unit. He's intimidating in there as well. I think Ayling comes back in at right back just purely because there isn't anybody better. There isn't. And that's not saying he's great. I think you have to bring Coops in. If Vober is fit, I'd play both of them. I'd play Coops and Vober. Yeah, both left footers, but so what? And then I think you need to look at maybe see if Furbo's better with Vober back in the team, maybe, and then the 2 midfielders stay the same because there's nobody else. Maybe Forshaw comes in for one of them, maybe McKennie. Let Rocket go forward, but more, you know, Forshaw will do the dirty running across the middle field in front of the back four. He'll do all that kind of stuff. And then I would, to the point that was made earlier on, I think I would change the front 3. I would go with Somerville, Nonto, and if Sinister is not injured again, I'd leave him where he is. But I seriously consider playing Nonto as a 10 and then Rodrigo as a 9. But Rodrigo wasn't great last night either. But I just think, again, a lot of the problems with the strikers comes down to service sometimes. And there was very little of that last night. So, squad-wise, Ollie, what do you think we do coming into the Fulham game? Like, what would you do if you were in that dressing room right now, except for swinging the baseball bat wildly?
Except from leave. No, the thing is, I think you make some good points about some changes. I'm going to start with the keeper situation. I wouldn't mind seeing Joel Robles in the sticks. It's one of them where it's confidence. I remember Brendan Rodgers speaking about it with was it Danny Ward in goal for Leicester at the start of the season. I mean, he looked like you've honestly stuck a midfielder in goal for the start of that season. And then he said, you know what, we need to keep up with him. I know he's been dropped now, but we need to keep up with him because what good is him being sat on the bench? You know, the last few games, all he's done is concede goals. His confidence isn't going to be better on the bench now, and he's being dropped. So, and we do have to think, you know, I haven't been Melié's biggest fan in the last few weeks. I don't think anyone has, but you know, he has saved us at times. He has, and I'm not against Robles starting at all, because I don't mind him at all. Like you said, he's experienced. He is a big figure he is a bit threatening. He will command corners. He is that lead. He's got a bit of a leader about him, in fairness, and we might need that. So I'm not too, you know, I'm not too fussed about what he goes with there. Ayling, I'd bring him back. You're right. There's no one better, but we're not saying that as in there's no one better than Ayling. It's just genuinely there is actually no one
anybody
better.
Else.
That's it. And then similar to you, I would start both Vobra and Coops. I think both Strauch and Koch need to hang their head in shame a bit. Honestly, I respect that Koch came out and spoke in the interview last night, and he did look a bit distraught. But
and he came out on social media, but he is negotiating a new contract with a relegation release clause in it. So
exactly,
you know, how committed are you?
Yeah, you can look good for social media, but let's show it on the pitch. And then similar to you, Firpo, again, no one really anywhere else can play then. He did look a lot better with Voba next to him. Middle of the park, similar. Rocker and McKennie. You know, there was rumours that them two had a fight and stuff at halftime against Palace. And not going to lie, they're playing like it. They're playing like they don't know each other there.
I asked a few people about it. I reached out to a few people, Miguel Delaney, and I asked Adam Pope about it. And Adam Pope came back and said he asked about it in the stadium before he left, and he was told didn't happen.
Yeah, but I always think, you know,
something's not right since then.
Yeah, but even if it did happen, would they come out and say?
Well, they definitely wouldn't, and things that happen in the dressing room should stay in the dressing room.
Yeah, agreed. And I don't mind that if they're arguing, if it's a bit of passion, but they're playing like they don't even like each other now. They're playing like there's this split where they don't even want to be next to each other. So I don't know what you would move in that midfield. I do think Darko JB's a fantastic player. Again, too young to bring in, and you know, if he'll get a game, let's say, and then everyone will judge him on that one game and say, oh, he's clearly not good enough to replace. Forshaw, you know, we're in, what are we? We are in April 2023, and we're still saying Adam Forshaw, should we give him a run out? I don't mind Adam Forshaw at all.
I like him.
Yeah, I like him, and he's actually not a bad footballer at all. He actually genuinely, and no one ever agrees with me when I say that about Adam Forshaw. He's actually a very technical, good footballer.
He wins the ball back in tight spaces. He's always the one that can read a pass and intercept it. He keeps it tidy around the back. He's your perfect number 6, or we call it number 4 because he wears 4 and Billy wore 4. Yeah. But it's that defensive midfielder role, and he's the connective tissue from the back line to the midfield. You know what Phillips did, but Phillips had the long range passes. Forshaw's more the short, snappy stuff and creating triangles and moving the ball around. But because he's been so injured for so long, the narrative around Adam Forshaw has just been tainted to the point where he's not a good footballer anymore. It's like, that's not true. He technically is a very good footballer. His stats would say he gives the ball away very little, and in fact, he wins quite a lot of tackles. So the problem is he's never been fit, and that's
exactly. And legs will you know, legs will do us, and he's been unfortunate with injuries. But I'm actually glad I found someone else who does agree with me about Adam Forshaw, because technically I just love that little. I don't know if I explain it right, but you know, he's like little touches, like where he kind of like brings it in. Anyway, we can talk about Adam Forshaw all night, but we're not going to.
It'd be nice if we had him fit for a season. He actually got a run. And also, what he can do that we don't have in the team is he has a free kick in him, and he's a corner taker. A good set piece taker. The best set piece taker we have is Sam Greenwood, and unfortunately, they haven't brought special teams into soccer yet, so we can't just bring him on for set pieces and take him back off again.
That's very true. And I think Greenwood lacks, you know, kind of the rest of it at the moment. He's still young. I do feel he still lacks the rest of it. I don't really think he knows where his best position is. Don't think managers know where.
It's his fault necessarily either. I think Jesse may have muddled that up a little bit by putting him in the field. Although my partner Jess is a big fan of Sam Greenwood. Like, she really watched a documentary on him. She really liked him. She saw him in games, so he's sharing for him. She thinks he's got a. I think the way she worded it was, when you saw his background and where he came from, he needs to make it as a footballer, and he really wants to make it as a footballer. So he has the desire to push and to keep getting better. And I think there's a player in Sam Greenwood. I think he will develop in time. I think he's one of those players that will probably develop a little bit slower than other players. Agreed. And I think he's kind of been messed around by being thrown in as a 10, then a 9, then a 10, then an 8 again, and then an 8 for a whole year, and it kind of stops the development a little bit. But on this quick point here from Chris, I don't think the players have respect for Javi. There's a lot that's going around at the moment. The Chelsea dressing room, calling Graham Potter Harry Potter, and having to Google him to see who he was. And then you've got the stuff that Chris Armas went through at Manchester United, where they were calling them Ted Lasso, and we did the same for Jesse Marsh as well. And in my opinion, these players in that Leeds United dressing room haven't achieved anything. They've achieved nothing. You know, Javi as a player in his career achieved more than most of the players in that dressing room have achieved. So if they don't respect them, it's more of a slight against them than it is against him. It shows the level of the maturity and the attitude that's in the dressing room. I don't know that for a fact, but I mean, this stuff about, oh, we don't, it's the manager, I don't respect the manager, the players won't play for the manager. Players are playing for the fans, because the fans are the ones that are putting their salary in their pocket. So everyone who watches a match on TV, everyone that buys a Sky package and contributes to the money that goes into Leeds as a football club from Sky, everyone who buys a shirt and the money goes in that way, everyone who turns up to a game and buys a match program or buys a ticket for a game or a cup of coffee in the stand or a beer in Billy's, all of that money goes into the club, which helps fund the salaries of these players. So these players are playing for the club and are paid for by the fans and by the sponsorship that it brings in by having the amazing fan base that Leeds have, considering the absolute dirt that we've had to go through over the last 20 years. And if they don't have faith in the manager, don't believe in the managers, they've got nearly 40,000 people standing over them every week, every second week, that they do have to respect and they do have to play for, because, you know, if the fans turn on you, which is starting to happen, you don't have a career here for very much longer, you know, and that kind of stuff needs to go away. And I miss old school dressing rooms where the manager could walk in and just roast the players and just, like, you know, as Alex Ferguson once said, identify the CUNT in the dressing room and sell them immediately, straight away. Get rid.
That's good. Yeah.
And they can't be bigger than the club.
What was that? Sorry?
They can't be bigger than the club.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think we don't know, you know, we don't know for sure, but I do believe that some players maybe think they are. And like you said, half of these players really haven't done, you know, much in their career to scream and shout about. And the Chelsea dressing room, you know, that doesn't surprise me with the team and the egos like Chelsea, but that's just not how I believe Leeds should be. You know, how we were. Like, we weren't even necessarily on paper. If you looked at Leeds a few years back, on paper, we weren't anything necessarily special. There was just something there, you know, that, you know, when 11 players play for each other, they can beat 11 individuals. Doesn't matter how good you are at football. And that's, you know, side before self. Someone just put it in the chat. And that genuinely is such a good motto. But unfortunately, these players right now aren't doing it.
I should not manage Leeds United. I can't get my own team to win a game right now, let alone manage anybody else. I have enough problems. Yeah, they would have sacked them and played on 21s. They would have done, yeah. Adams looks even better now, our team. Yeah. But again, I don't think it's necessarily him, because I did say against the Wolves and Forest games, I didn't think we missed him. I thought the partnerships we had in there, I know we played Rasmus against Arsenal in there. He was all right, actually. It's probably the best position he's played for Leeds.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah.
I'd put him in there again ahead of somebody else. But yeah, I don't necessarily think it's Adams. I think the biggest one for me is Vober missing. I think we've seen us go from, I know, and someone said to me a couple of weeks ago, we're still conceding 2 goals a game. I was like, yeah, but we didn't look like we were going to concede any more than 2.
No.
And the 2 that we were conceding were pretty good goals. Like, they had to work for those goals. They were screamers, or they were, you know, ones you just can't do anything about, outside the odd one. And the goals we're conceding now were the goals we conceded before Vober came in. You know, balls to the end line, pullbacks, tap-ins, balls across the 18-yard locks, tap-ins. The tap-ins. Basics. They're just basic. Somebody controlling it. Someone that basically stands up left. And if you look at what Vober was known for, coming out and meeting the ball. So as the ball's been playing the strikers, he'd come out and either hit the player or win the ball. And then going back to all 6 goals, what did Leeds do when the balls were played in those players? They dropped.
Yeah.
They ran away from the players and gave them space to run at. And if you give Mo Salah, Jota, Nunez, all these players, if you give them space to run at you, they'll destroy you. They'll absolutely tear you apart. My fear going into the game is that the 3 of them would get around the back of us. And in fact, what actually happened was we just dropped off and gave them the middle of the park to completely play in. And
yeah, to run at us, yeah.
It just doesn't work. And it's mind-boggling. I hope that there's a performance in us against Fulham. And I mean, before I was saying, Jesus, if we get 9 points in these 3 games, that would be it. Now I'm looking at it going, if you can get a draw against Fulham away, then you have to win the home game. And then a Leicester game, that should be winnable. Although Man City did everything in their power to let Leicester back into the game last week. They played in, 10 miles an hour for the most of that game. They walked around the park and then they were sloppy. So, you know, they've got players that can do damage. Madison can do damage. Iniacho can do damage. They've got good players in there that can do damage if we let them play, and we have let them play. if we let them, we have other teams play currently, if it's the same when it goes into that game, they'll just damage. The other thing about Leicester is they tend to be a little bit more narrow than most teams, so they, white balls in the box might not be as big of an issue, but Fulham will. Yeah. Fulham will play wide. Fulham will put balls in on top of the back four, and we'll get targeted now. What will happen is it'll be targeted stuff to expose the weaknesses, which is why I think Javi has made some savvy team choices in the past where he's not been afraid to make changes.
No,
he needs to make some big ones for the next game and really shake it up a little bit. And if nothing else, just put Fulham on the back foot for the first 20 minutes of going. I have no idea what, like we did against Arsenal, where we all looked at the team sheet and went,
yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, genuinely, I didn't know what he was doing with that. But you're saying he has made some bold decisions. Do you think he will?
I think he has to. I think the loyalty now has to go out the window. There was an argument that was made of, even after the Palace game, does he start the same 11 and give them the chance to fix it? Back in my hand gone, I wouldn't trust this group of players to fix a car, let alone anything, a flat tire. I wouldn't let them near it, Pull in with a flat tire, they let the whole squad at your tire, you come away with 4 wheels missing. I wouldn't let them near the thing. And everybody's been saying it. Square Ball said it, Joe has said it, you've said it. I'm starting to not like this team anymore. I don't mean Leeds. I mean the people in the shirts. I'm starting to not like them very much anymore. And I always say the worst thing you can get is apathy. That's the worst thing. Not venomous hatred. If the fans are standing up and screaming at you or chanting sack the board, at least there's a reaction there. At least there's some passion there. And there's a reason for it. When the fans turn around and walk out of the game, or in my situation last night, go training and don't watch it because it's in my opinion, the result was nailed on. Our goalkeeper is a guy called Dan Brady, and he's a Leeds fan. And I went in last night and he goes, how do you think we're going to do? I was like, we're going to get hammered. We're going to get hammered. Don't be in any doubt this is not going to happen. We're going to get thumped. And it happened. And that's the problem, is that you now look at them and go, yeah, there's no spine, there's no character, there's no grit, there's no balls, there's nothing. There's roll over, get your belly tickled, and then point at somebody else. No accountability. I hope they really enjoyed the tennis match in Monaco last week in Monte Carlo when they went over to watch it, because while they were doing that ruined everybody else's week, that drubbing. And now we're in a situation where for the first time in Leeds history, we've conceded 6 goals at home. I watched Joe last night. I felt sorry for Joe last night because he tried really hard to not completely lose his head with it, which I think was a miracle considering.
The live stream or the reaction afterwards?
His reaction afterwards.
I watched that today. It's brilliant. And he made some fantastic points in there. Yeah. Made some fantastic points.
One of the things he said that got me was he was talking about. She's gone ahead now. What was he talking about? Oh yeah, Victor and the board, and it's and I was saying about walking out of the stadium. When the fans just don't have a reaction anymore, they walk out of the stadium, and you look at the 3 lads that are sitting there who put this team together, who's gaslit fans for the last 2 seasons with program notes at times, basically. Hey, we've got international number 9s, don't you know? Do we? Where?
Yeah.
Where are they, Angus? Yeah. It was nice to see our chairman there last night with sunglasses on. Not sure how much of the game he actually saw. He was wearing sunglasses at night time. And then you have Victor in the middle, who I just can't wait to go. Can't wait to go. I will give Victor credit for one thing. He has an eye for very good young talent, and he would be a fantastic chief of youth development at a club. But not the guy that's putting the strategy together to give the manager, to A, appoint the manager, and B, put the right players into that team to make them competitive, because I don't think they've done that. I don't think they've done it enough. And they don't lose any credit in the bank for me either for, I will still be grateful for getting us out of the championship, even if it was only for a little bit. I will still be grateful for taking the stadium back off another company. Same with the training. I'll still be grateful for all that stuff. I'll be very, very grateful for the fact that they did get Bielsa, whether they meant to or not, which is debatable, whether it was a fluke, an accident, or they just threw a net out and got somebody. Joe's point last night was that they had the nerve to think that they could walk into anyone else's club after sacking Marsh and just pick the manager they wanted.
Yeah.
And the arrogance of that as well got me, because if you look at it, they were the clubs just said no.
No,
exactly. Over the last year, there's been a common denominator when it comes to signing players or getting managers. It's people don't want to come.
No, and it's that arrogance again. You're right. All I can see is them going up to a club and saying, "Oh, we want your manager," and they just turn around, and laugh at them, and go, "Well, no," and they go, "Well, what do you mean, no?" Do you know what I mean? I think he's made a great point. I think you've just made a fantastic point. I think when they inevitably all leave, where it looks like maybe at the end of the season that will happen, you know, it does. I'm not going to discredit them, you know, discredit what they've done, you know, taken over, given the stadium back, the Marcelo Bielsa thing, you know, they're just ruining it themselves
Yeah.
by these, you know, with Sinrad's tweets. Like he's even tweeted me, for God's sake. That went through that whole thing
Oh, I
where he's
remember
tweeted.
that. I remember saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone was having a go at me. I was like, guys, I'm not actually saying anything. It's our stupid. And then yeah, it was all about the welcome Bamba Dieng, like when he said that, and we never got him in, and that was an odd time for me and all the Leeds fan base. And then Orta again runs his mouth way too much, and it's just, you know, when we're saying players aren't bigger than the club, I think these chairmen and whatever the rest of them are, you know, think they are bigger than the club as well.
There's a lot of bits that you're dead right. You're dead right. I reached out to the club last week. I was told by Joe, don't bother. You're wasting your time. I spoke to a man in the club about trying to speak to the women's manager, about Rick Passmore, about just the, you know, what the future of the women's team was and development. And I got a really nice email back saying, absolutely no problem. We'll give you access to the club. What players you want to interview? And I gave him an answer, and I haven't heard from them since. And that was, so I felt like I'd been made a bit of a mug of in that situation. And I did say, if it did happen and that was the case, I'd make sure I said it out loud, and I am saying it out loud now. There is a disconnect between that club and its fan base. There is a desire to stay away from the fans. There is a desire to keep them as far away as can. And it might be a case that you look at the YouTubers and stuff that we're doing and go, don't like these guys. They're too negative. They're too reactionary. They say they're wrong. They say they're over the top, whatever things that we say. You've got a really nice microcosm of what your fan base is thinking. You've got every different version of it. You've got a male and female perspective. You've got an angry, more passionate fans perspective of it. You've got calmer perspectives. You've got tactical. If you look at what Max does on Leeds lately, he does a brilliant job of breaking down stuff. There's a couple of other people that do really good tactical videos. There's a really good, you know, sample size. So what are the fans really thinking here that you can go through? You engage with those people. You don't push those people away, because they're the ones that will give you what what you're looking for. And there's just this massive disconnect. You know, the jerseys over the last couple of years, I know jerseys are a small thing, but they went so far away from what the club stood for. You know, what the history of the club was. There was nothing there as well. The badge was an absolute horror show. Absolute
the badge.
Show. The lack of of anything to recognize Marcelo Bielsa's time at Leeds. The steel bucket that never happened. Why did that not happen? I wonder why. The trying to appoint Alfred Schroeder, and then the debacle that became of, actually, no, he's not the manager, except for the fact that he got a picture taken with a Leeds jersey and was at the game. So all of that, it's just, there's this huge disconnect from what they think the club should look like and where it should go, and what the fans believe the club should be and where it should go. And the problem is, they created this monster. They brought in Bielsa. They gave him the keys to the club, and they said, do what you want. He changed the training ground. He put new stuff in. We got the new pitch put in on Elland Road. He insisted on the same pitch being put in at a cost of £3 million into Thorpe Arch, so the players could play on the exact same pitch that they play on when they play in the stadium. And the under 21s could get used to it there. So when they went in, it was the same pitch, same dimensions, everything was perfect, no issues. They created this. And then they told us that Jesse Marsh was a replacement, the perfect replacement for him. Which didn't. And I backed Jesse for a very long time, because I wanted Jesse to work out, because I always want every Leeds manager to work out, because that means that we're doing well.
Yeah, exactly.
But they hung on too long. But again, they created the narrative of he was the replacement. So for the last 12 months, all we've been saying, is he the replacement? Because it doesn't look like it is. The football's not the same. The style isn't the same. The behind the scenes stuff isn't the same. The training regime isn't the same. And then you bring in Javi. Now, unfortunately for Javi, he was 5th or 6th choice on the list. Yeah. And at that stage, from what I've heard, the 49ers had stepped in at that point and went, we're not happy with the recruitment process here. We're going to step. And they appointed Javi.
Wow.
You know, same with Jack Harrison's transfer. They stepped in at the last minute and said, no, he's not going. End the story. So that was the end of that. So
I didn't know that.
They've created this mess. They've created this, what the expectation, and then to come out by Angus came out this year, and Rod said the same thing of going, our fans' expectations aren't level with reality. You know, but you created these. You told us year 3 we'd be competing for Europe.
Yeah,
this is year 3
again running their mouth way too much. Don't need to, you know, that they really don't need to. I like it when it, you know, and we're reactionary. Football is a reactionary thing, you know. If we were doing well, we'd be like, look what our owner's just said. He said this and stuff like that. But when things go wrong, you look at it, you look a right tit, and that's what they're doing right now. And just a quick, you know, on Marcelo Bielsa, like, I am very much, you know, I do know how much Marcelo Bielsa done for the club, and I actually, he's a god, and I love him. And when Jesse Marsch came in, I thought it was always hard. We lost the game. Oh, Bielsa would have done this and stuff like that. And I thought it was hard on Jesse. It was. But when we're just talking a little bit about what he done, Marcelo Bielsa changed Leeds United. He brought us. I think he's brought us back again. He just done so, and you're saying all the training ground stuff, and it's just actually making me feel happy. I was like, this is what this man done to a club. This is what a manager should do. He should make this difference. And it's now, I don't know, it's just now going right back downhill. We're going back to the days of I don't know, David Hockaday, I don't know, Darko Milnech.
No, right. But it is. Just answer this question: where am I getting the information from? If you watch my channel, there's a daily news video where I give all the stories every single day, and I source every single piece of them. So it's not opinion that usually comes from a source. So they're all mentioned in every single video that I do. I'll tell you where the stories come from. I usually check it with 2 or 3 different places to make sure the story is in more than one outlet. That's not just a blog or a forum site that's saying it. I'll try and go and see, well, if someone's taking a quote from the Times, I'll go and look at the Times website and go, is it actually there? And yeah, it is there, and that's coming from a credible source. So that's where this information has come from. Ollie, we're going over the hour. We could probably do this all night. I'm just really enjoying getting a chance to actually talk to you properly on a stream. We've talked about this for so long. Important question from Kellyanne. Last 7 games, and I'll go look for them. I'll put them on the screen, and we can have a little prepare ourselves for the final bit tonight. Before I have to go and walk the dog for 4 hours just to calm down again.
Oh, just yeah.
Do you think we stay up, Ollie?
What was that? Sorry.
Do you think we stay up?
$1 million question, isn't it?
Putting in a spot now, haven't
I want to say yes, because I believe teams like Forest have got a difficult run in. I can maybe nail on maybe Southampton and Forest maybe being the ones to go, but then are we the third one? Are we the third one?
The worrying bit for me is, and we've all said this on every single channel that I've watched over the last couple of weeks, everyone has said the same thing. And I said it, I thought it was Crystal Palace. One team implodes every year. And if you look at the bottom 2 and even Bournemouth as well, they're not stopping fighting. They're losing games, but narrowly. They're scoring goals and they're fighting and they're battling. The games are going to last.
That's what I mean.
We now look like the team that's imploded.
Mm-hmm.
Now, currently, we're not in the bottom 3, which is a miracle, and it's great.
But
I look at this, and the bit that worries me is this.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, if we're not safe by here, I think we go down.
And I think I agree with you. I think, like you said, these next 3 games are huge. I think Fulham, you take a point away from home, and I think Leicester and Bournemouth needs to be 6 points. It genuinely does, because I don't think we're getting much to Man City. I think Newcastle's tough. I think away to West Ham, you don't know where they're going to be come 20th of May. They could be down there, but I do think that they'll be okay. And then last game of the season against Tottenham, it could be a very mate, I don't even like talking about it, but genuinely,
I get it.
I think you're right. We need to be safe by the Man City game, because them last 4 games are difficult.
Yeah, and they're even more difficult when you add pressure.
Yeah.
Sorry, the point I was going to make about what Joe said, because this took an awful lot for someone to say this. Joe said that Jesse's comment around they look scared. Why are they scared? They look scared, and this whole thing about playing under stress and pressure. And Joe said maybe Jesse was right. Now that must have taken a huge amount for Joe to say that out loud, right? But when you look at it, you go, was he wrong? Was he wrong when he said it? Like, I know he said it out loud in front of the dugout, which you definitely should never do. No. That's when you walk off down to the sideline and mutter under your breath. That's when you get out of your system. But there's bits of it you're looking at going, there's a character issue for me. And you come into these 4 games, especially that last one, and it's, if you need a performance and you need to dig it out, you've no Rafinha, you've no Calvin Phillips, you've no 2 massive players. You're missing, I don't think Adams is definitely not coming back by the end of the season, so he's gone. So you're relying on the midfield. You've got with an addition of Forshaw. assuming he can get through till the end of the season. Maybe he helps us. Ollie, 12:30 kickoff on Saturday morning. The ability to absolutely ruin everyone's weekend. What do you think?
I think it's, you know what? I think it's far too fresh for me to be positive, if I'm being completely honest.
Okay, yeah.
I think come, Friday night, I'll say 4-0 Leeds. But I think right now, I'm still thinking I can see at best a draw. That's all I can see, if I'm being completely honest. And we've got to bring it to them. We really have to bring it to them. We need to see a reaction. But unfortunately, I just, talking about characters again, I wouldn't even say there is a lack of quality. Of course there is, but there's also a lack of personnel. There's a lack of character, lack of leader. And I don't see us going to Craven Cottage and saying, you know what, boys, we're up for this. Let's go. Let's get into them and stuff. I just don't see it. And all I can see, at best, if we play our absolute socks off, a point.
I agree. I think we have to work for that. And we're going to have to work really hard, both ends of the pitch. We're going to have to work really hard to not concede, and we're going to have to work really hard to score a goal. I think it's, I agree with you. I think a draw. I'm trying to step back from it and remove emotion from it and just look at it and go, it's very hard to do that, but trying to. Home to Leicester on the Tuesday night, so quick fire games. Where's your heart at? Where's your head at?
I'm gonna say 3 points. I'll say 3 points.
I'm gonna say win as well, because I think we have to.
Yeah, have to. We really have to.
Win. It's a home game against Leicester. We have to win that game. Away to Bournemouth, who refused to die and now look like they're probably safe. Or is this the game that makes sure they're safe?
I want to say we go to Bournemouth and get something, but I don't know if we do. You know what? I'm gonna say a draw again.
So have I. I'm writing these down because I want to see how many points we think they'll have at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Man City at home.
Loss.
Yeah. And I think my hope is not a heavy loss, because we may need some confidence.
Yeah.
Coming into the round.
Very
Newcastle at home.
I think the best a point, but I'm going to say loss again.
Go loss. Yeah, I'm going to go draw on that one. Okay. We might need to make a draw. I think we know to get something out of them. West Ham away.
See, this is difficult. I really don't know with West Ham. It really depends where West Ham are at this point. I'll you know what? I'll say 3. I'll say 3 away at West Ham.
Okay.
We've done it before. I think it's mental to say. I mean, if we're being realistic, we'll probably pick up 0 points by the end of this. But we've got to have a bit of confidence. So I'm going to say 3 points.
Okay. I'm going to say loss. Because I've seen what West Ham are like at home, and they don't lie down easily at home. Especially you saw the Arsenal game with them. They just didn't. Arsenal 2-0 up, and you expect West Ham will buckle now and fold. They didn't stop. And if anything, they could have gone on and won that game. Actually, I don't know if that says as much about Arsenal's bottle
that can say a bit more of the incompetence from Arsenal. But I know what you mean by West Ham. I do, but I do think we need after Man City, after Newcastle, I think we need a game where we might be a bit like, let's go for this. So that's why I'm saying 3. Obviously, it could be anything.
Final game of the season.
I think we lose, but I think we stay up. Okay. Or I don't know if we do. If my maths is right, I don't know. I think we do lose it though. I genuinely do.
3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, you've given us 8 points. And I've got us down for 3, 4, 5, 6 points.
Oh wow!
What's the league table look like? Let's have a look at the league table.
I don't know if I want to, mate.
I know, yeah. God, there's not much red still in ours. They don't want to open Premiere Pro, but thanks for inviting me. I never want to use Premiere Pro again. Get away from me. Get off my screen. Right. Yeah, the hope is just these 3 teams continue to be worse than us. So 29-8. My maths isn't great. Ollie, go away. 37. Is 37, which I think will be enough.
No, it's not 37.
35, isn't it?
Oh wait, what are we on? We're on 29. Yeah, 37.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
37. Yeah, so 37 from you. I reckon 35 was at 35. I think 37 is enough to be safe. I think 35 would be tight, but it might just be enough to keep us over the line. And I have us down with 1 win and 3 draws in our last 7 games.
And so I think
we're pessimistic. I think
we're being very optimistic, aren't we?
So yeah. These are the ones I personally think these 2 are gone. I'm being honest. And
you think Leicester are gone?
Yeah, I think it could be by the time they get to us. The big one for me is this one. If you look at the points, it's not necessarily the points tally. It's the amount of fixtures it will take to close the gap. There's now between Everton saying 17th and Southampton, you've got 4 points. That's 2 results. Between us, it's 6 points. So it's it's 2 results again, 2 wins, which might not happen. So I think Southampton you can write off as gone. Leicester 25 to us. There's 4 points. There's still 2 points of a gap there. I think they'll go. I think it's still 2 games. So if we can get something out of the next 2 and they don't, it could be redundant by the time we get to the last 2 or 3 games of the season. They could be gone anyway. Just have to sit purely on the fact that there's not enough games left to make up the points that you need to stay up. Forest are the one for me. I think I'm being very honest. I think it's one of these 3. I think it's us, Everton, or Forest that go down.
Yeah, agreed. I completely. I genuinely actually think it's between us and Forest. I don't know what I know. Everton, they lost today, didn't they? Did you see that whole behind closed doors against Chester? Lost 1-0, and I don't know. I really, mate. If anything, I think this has stressed me out even more.
Sorry, mate.
No, it's fine. Shouldn't have said I was coming on. But yeah, no, genuinely. I mean, I think you're right. I think you can rule West Ham out. You can rule Palace and the teams above us out. I think it is between Southampton, Leicester, Forest, Everton, and Leeds for the drop. I haven't. You know what? I've kind of kept Leicester away, but you are right, and I've watched Leicester, and they are dreadful. But we don't really have a a leg to stand on talk about other teams being dreadful at the moment. But yeah, I do think if anything we're either going to finish 17th or 18th in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very like last season, except I don't think it goes down to the final day of the season. But I think it'll be close. I just think this year maybe the bottom 3 get cut adrift before.
Yeah, maybe
get to those last couple of games.
The next 3 games, like you said, are absolutely huge, aren't they?
They're huge. I think that's the season. I think the entire season hinges on the next 3 games. I don't think the last 4 games will come into the conversation at all. I think it's the next 3. If we come out of the next 3 with nothing, we're dead. Dead.
Agreed.
So we have to think. I just don't know if this team has a second season of a fight in them, and then the newer players, as I said, I just don't think are up for the fight. So
I think you're right.
Anyway, we've been an hour and 14. Ollie, thanks for jumping on.
That's fine. Thanks for ruining my evening.
I'm not sorry, mate, because you've ruined my evening. I've ruined my own evening as well, so I'll feel guilty for both. But look, there's some positives in this, in as far as we both think there's probably still enough there to even being slightly pessimistic. There's probably enough there to get over the line if we're lucky. But I think we do need a bit of a miracle here, and the fact that we're not in the bottom 3 already is probably safe our bacon, because I think if we had been, we were gone.
Yeah.
They have bounced back from being in bad positions before. I mean, it's been said this year, every time Leeds have gone to the bottom 3, they've won the next game. So sometimes there's character in there, and hopefully these next 3 games are going to be ones we can bounce back for. I would like to say it can't get any worse, but then you've got to go to Manchester City, so you never know. But hopefully, yeah. Ollie, what have you got going on this week?
Not too much. I was planning on doing a couple of videos. I need to actually talk to you about that. But then, on Saturday, probably most likely we'll be doing a live stream for the Fulham game, and if I can bear it, I'll be there going live 15-20 minutes before kickoff. So yeah, be sure to join if you want. If you're not watching Joe, because half the fan base watching Joe. But,
I don't watch any watch-alongs.
No, to be fair, I struggle to watch watch-alongs if I wouldn't watch myself.
I'm nothing to do with the people that do them, because I think I've seen bits of Joe. I watched the back end of one of Joe's streams last week, and that was great. I really enjoyed it, actually, but I enjoy it more when it's not a Leeds team. Yeah. I'm at the same stress level as everybody who's doing watch-alongs, and I know that I can be an absolute lunatic in my front room when it's not going well. Enough. Like my partner and the dogs especially leave the room when Leeds are on, so I can be left on my own space.
I already know. Yeah.
I don't. Which is why I usually take a day afterwards to do a review, because I can't.
I respect it. No, I do respect it, and I respect everything you're doing. I mean, you've absolutely smashed it. Come on to the scene.
You're doing great, man. 10,000 subscribers. You're doing really well.
I mean, well, we're both doing well, hey?
There you go.
But keep smashing it, mate. I thank you for having me on and everything, and let's just hope, for the sake of everyone in this stream right now, for the sake of all the Leeds fans, at least I do enough to stay up.
Yep, there's 233 people still here chatting. Thanks everybody for sticking around and talking. If I didn't get your comments in the chat, I'm sorry. We try and get to as many as we can. But I'll try and get back into the chat at some point later on today or tomorrow morning, and I'll try and get through a few of them as well. So look, thanks for watching, supporting the channel, and you can go over and support Ollie's channel as well. It's not in the description because I didn't know he was going to be here, but I'll stick it in the description now. But if you're not, go over and subscribe to Ollie's channel as well. Fantastic channel, does great stuff. And if you like what we do here, you can subscribe as well. So that's your call. Right, folks, thanks very much. I'll see you with a nice banner, I suppose, that says thanks for watching, because you've been great watching. Leeds haven't been, but at least you did. So you've done your bit this week. And I'm sure you've watched enough of these to do your lifetime. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, hopefully with some Leeds news. Probably not, but we'll see. Anyway, mind yourselves. Bye.